Hey guys, welcome back. And today I wanted to talk to you about something that I've been experimenting with the last couple of weeks, and that is whether I can achieve what you would call a cinematic look using an action camera. So for the purpose of this video, I have filmed all of the clips that you're seeing here with my DJI Action 5 Pro. And there's a few things that I wanted to talk about, because I've got my Nikon ZF, and my Nikon ZF does a wonderful job at creating that cinematic looks for videos that I want. Now, I kept thinking, do I always need to carry such a big bulky camera to be able to create the look that I want? And I think in the course of this experiment, I've discovered that actually no, I don't. You don't have to have the best camera all the time. You don't have to have a high-end camera all the time. You can actually replicate that look with an action camera, with your phone, with any camera that you have, okay? There are a few caveats, of course, like resolution, image quality, and all those things. But for the purpose of this, I'm using an action camera, specifically the DJI Action 5 Pro, as I mentioned earlier. So some of the things that I always have to remember when thinking about cinematic look, and I've thought about this, like what actually are the settings that I use with my big camera that I can use with my action camera to make it closer to that cinematic look that I want. One of them is the 180 rule. What's the 180 rule? Your shutter speed should be twice the frame rate. So if you're shooting with a 25 frame rate, then your shutter speed should be 1/50th. Now, some people would be shooting in 24 frames per second. There is no 48, at least in the action camera. So the closest you got is 1/50. So that's what you go with. But especially since I'm in Australia, something to do with the light bulbs here. If I do 24 frames per second, there's quite a bit of flickering. To stop that, I have to go 25 frames per second. Okay. Obviously, if you're shooting with 30 frames per second, you can go 1/60. Now, the reason why you want to do that is to create that natural motion blur. Because if you are doing, let's say, 50 frames per second on a 1/50 shutter speed, it looks like, it doesn't look cinematic, it doesn't look film-like, it looks like you're in real life. Like this person is really in the room with you. It doesn't have the motion blur. It can also look a bit jittery and jumpy, a bit too sharp. Yeah. The idea of a cinematic footage is that it's softened, it's less sharp, it's not too, like, it's pleasing to the eye. Like, it's not going to distract you from what the story is trying to tell. You know? In fact, what it's meant to do is assist with the storytelling. So I always practice the 180 rule. If I'm filming in 50 frames per second, I'm gonna do 1/100 in my shutter speed. Okay. The next thing is rule of thirds. Rule of thirds is basically, if you turn on the grid on the screen of your camera, it's essentially placing your subject on either the left side, the right side, the upper half, or the lower half, not dead center. The other thing that I do a lot with my big camera is panning. So starting either from the center going to the left, or the center going to the right, or right to left, left to right, in a very slow, steady pace. so that it looks like your eye or your line of vision is panning very slowly, revealing the rest of the scenario. Right. There is also zooming, right? Especially when I do static videos, like it's just the camera's just standing there on a tripod and not moving, I'm not panning, I'm not doing anything, it's just there. Then to put a little bit of interest into the video, make it a little bit more dynamic, I would normally either zoom in slowly or zoom out. Zoom in to focus on something, zoom out to reveal the rest of the environment. Right. But all that is not going to mean anything if your lighting is not great. As with photography, videography, or cinema filmmaking relies on great lighting. I personally avoid filming in midday when the sun is at its brightest because it can be very harsh. It can blow out your clouds. It can blow out anything that's light, really. It can create shadows that you probably don't intend to have in the video. So I avoid shooting during midday. I try to do it early in the morning during when the sun has just risen, or I even try to get sunrise from dark until it's actually up, or sunset time, blue hour, or the golden hour. So yeah, those are the times that I prefer because the sunlight is softer, it's not harsh. It also has that beautiful warm tone, right? So that's what I try to do. But in terms of lighting, it also depends on where your light is coming from. Is it coming from a window to your side? Is it lighting you directly? Is it coming from the top? Is it coming from the bottom? Because it depends on what you're trying to shoot that you need to position your lights. Now, I don't have any artificial light on at the moment. I've only got the balcony door. It allows some light to go in. It makes it a little bit softer, so not too harsh if I had it just open like that. But just enough light to light this half of my face and still light up the room so that it's not completely dark and I'm not like shadowed over here completely and then super bright on this side, right? So you need to also experiment on the lighting and understand or try to find what draws your eye. Like in this clip that I'm showing you guys right now, this is really just a sort of like a barricade because beneath that is the train tracks. So but it's got this beautiful holes on them, the design, where the light can go through. And I went late in the afternoon and shot that, and you can see how that plays around with the clip, right? There is also this part where I am directly shooting at the sunset, but because there's like a tree with leaves and branches and it's sort of like the sun is peeking in and out of the clip, you can see a little bit more of an artistic one. And in this case, I've also slowed down the video so it has a little bit more of drama. Now, in saying that, there are a few accessories that I do use when I film my videos. See, the only thing with lighting, with natural light, is that you can't control it. So right now it's pretty harsh at the moment, and you can see that it would have lit my face quite a bit, right? But that's gonna go down in a little while, so it's fine. I will try to adjust it in post-process, okay? Now, if you're like me and you're lazy with post-processing, you can do the bare minimum. Right? Color grading to me is important. Color correction is important. What's the difference between the two? Color correction is making sure that your highlights and your shadows are not completely blown out or are not too dark that you can't see. It's making sure that your white balance is correct. Right? And then color grading is applying that technique or sort of that filter that you want to make it look a certain way. That's your aesthetic. Right. Now, I mentioned that there are a few things that I actually use to film. Right now on my Action 5 is a black diffuser. I'll take it off so you can see. That's what it looks like. And this is black diffusion 1/4 strength KNF concept, okay? And you can't see it unless you really focus on it, but there are little black dots on the lens. And what it does is it softens the video and creates sort of like a softer look because it's not as sharp. It creates a little bit of drama. Okay, you can go with a 1/8 I suppose power with your black diffusion. I prefer the 1/4. What this will do though is because it's got those black dots, it's going to sort of darken your video a little bit. So you're gonna need to compensate with the lighting. Okay. The other things that I have are CPL, our circular polarizer lens. I've got a filter on the camera at the moment, and what that does is if you're shooting through glass or you want to see what's underneath the water, it helps to remove the glare so that you can actually see through it clearly. I've also got here, this is the lens guard that came in with the Action 5, but the rest are from Newer, and these are ND filters. Now, sometimes you wouldn't have a choice but to actually film midday. And if that's the case, you're gonna need ND filters if you wanna continue using the 180 rule. Because if your shutter speed is 1/50 in bright sunlight, that's going to cause it to be overexposed and really look bad. So ND filters in a nutshell is like sunglasses for your camera lens. It creates sort of like a darkened filter so that you can manipulate your exposure to keep it at 1/50 or 1/60 or however you're filming. Okay, so I have on the lens right now, it's just a CPL, but I have the following strength. So I've got an ND8, so that brings it down to 8 stops, an ND16, an ND32. Now this came in a pack with a CPL filter, but I also separately bought an ND1000. Why? That's gonna make it super dark, almost night. Because sometimes I wanna capture, let's say, water in a stream or in a waterfall, and I want it to look blurry. So adding that motion blur, that's what you need. So you're gonna need to compensate for exposure, for the lighting, for the shutter speed, so that it creates that look. And also, sometimes I use my action camera to take photo, and if I want a still photo of a waterfall with a blurry water and not that like the normal way it looks, then that's important. Or sometimes there's a lot of people around and you want those people to disappear like a ghost. ND1000 works well for that. You're gonna have to get your shutter speed to be really low so that people can move around and they wouldn't be captured by the camera. Yeah, so those are some of the things that I use on my camera to create that cinematic look. Now there's also audio that you can play around with. I know loads of people have their sponsors for audio. Now I personally use audio, which is AUDIO. I used Epidemic Sound before, and they're great, don't get me wrong, but I just don't want the subscription. So with audio, I found, what do you call this? An content creator who had I think it was a 60% off of their lifetime membership. So I used their code and paid for the lifetime membership so that I don't have to keep on subscribing. So I have license to everything for as long as I want it. So that's something to consider, because great storytelling also involves great soundtracks. I hope you like this video. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've tried to use your action camera to do cinematic vlogs and how that turned out for you. If you've got any tips, suggestions on how to improve it, let me know in the comment section down below as well. Thanks for your time.